So this is our third lecture, and we have done the first. The first lecture was okay. The first was not a lecture. The first was a trial to see how the class would be, and we tried that on Google Meet. But then the following time, I was told by some of your class reps that it was not good enough. I also found it a bit slow, particularly when I am trying to use my drawing pen. Now, the first lecture, we used the Kenneth platform. And during the Kenneth platform, we had, the first time it was okay. What are you saying? You can't hear me. You stop saying that you can't hear me when I know I'm audible. So if you can't hear me, you might need to refresh yourself, on your site, because everyone else, I believe, can hear. So someone confirm that others can hear me, because I know I can see I'm not muted. If the volume is not good, you can communicate. So I was saying that the first lecture we used the Kenneth platform, it worked well, but we had some challenges sharing the screen. Sometimes it could just fail. Then the next time when it used Kenneth, it failed completely. I was got enough communication that you are losing my audio, and therefore we thought that the notes that I shared are a bit huge, but it is because they are extracts of the text that you are meant to use, and for that reason, it has plenty of examples. So we are not necessarily going to do the entire 366 pages, but we are going to be using the most relevant sections. Therefore, it is important that someone attends the class and we try to go through. So today we are week 3, and the subject is coordinate systems and transformation. We are going. It's a bit brief, but a bit technical. So we just deal with that for today. For those who might have some other challenges, you can always communicate. And tutorial, I'm not yet been given a GA by the chair, so we will try to combine lectures and tutorials for now. But today we are meeting at least for the third week, and this is the third week, so we can say we have caught up. The only thing we not have done is caught up with the hours for tutorials, but we will still do that. So I think that's services for the introduction. I can see we are 47 now. I hope others are going to be joining. All right, so of course, we are ready to go. So we're going to talk about coordinate transformation systems. And of course, there is a nice quote here that says that history teaches us that man learns nothing from history. That is from Hegel. I hope you learn from your history so that you don't become like that. So in terms of introduction, we have already covered, the basic vectors. Last week, we did some vector algebra that allowed us to know what are the unit vectors, what are the vector addition, subtraction, components of vectors, etc. So this time we are going to deal with the coordinate systems. And you're seeing that now that in general, the physical quantities, we shall be dealing with in electromagnetic waves are functions of space and time. In order to describe spatial variations of quantities, we must be able to define all points uniquely in space in a suitable manner. And this requires an appropriate coordinate system. And a point or a vector can be represented in any curvilinear coordinate system, which maybe orthogonal or non-orthogonal. So a general term that we use to describe the coordinate systems is curvilinear. Mathematicians can explain what curvilinear means, but for now we can know that there are plenty of coordinate systems that can be found in mathematics. Some of them are orthogonal, and we defined the concept of orthogonal last week. And we said that orthogonal means that they are, or the coordinates are 90 degrees out of phase. So when you look at, if this is my x, my y, and this being z, you will always know that the angle between each plane is 90 degrees. So in all the planes, and that is the one that we said it is called orthogonal coordinate system. I think I have muted everyone, except the few who are still causing some audio. I think there's some settings I know I have some that says mute everyone. Just a minute. Anyway, if you are still on, if you have not muted yourself, you can do that so that we don't hear anything from your side apart from me speaking. So we have already defined what orthogonal means. That you see now, an orthogonal system is the one in which all the coordinate surfaces are mutually perpendicular. Need to hear those things that are coming. So allow me to see if I can mute everyone. Allow. No. Allow participants to unmute themselves. No. So for now, we are going to be mute everyone. When I need you to talk, I will allow you. Okay, so I think we can carry on. What's happening? I thought I have muted everybody. Kama hii kitu haifanyangi wakati wote.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm having some challenges. Current and new participants will be muted. But I can still hear some people. Okay, if you are not mute, you are giving us some trouble. So just be muted. I think the person who is talking is someone like can see them on top here. Marcy, you are not mute. Kibet, you are not mute. So let's honor the meeting rules. We remain on mute. Okay. Carrying on. An orthogonal system is the one that whose coordinate surfaces are mutually perpendicular. That is something we have already said. I guess I'm not mute here. So non-orthogonal systems are hard to work with, and therefore we never use non-orthogonal systems. And they are of little or no practical use. We don't use them. The examples of orthogonal coordinate systems are the three that I have already mentioned: Cartesian, which is also called circular; the circular, which is also called, of course, circular and spherical. The others, like elliptic, cylindrical, parabolic, cylindrical, canonical, florid, spheroidal, oblate, spheroidal, and ellipsoidal, all those things are well beyond our level. But you can always, I think I had mentioned that if you want to shine in the village, you can talk to your peers about the technical terms you're learning, and they know that in the university. But the ones you're going to deal with are the three: Cartesian, spherical, and cylindrical. So moving forward, we are saying now that a considerable amount of work and time may be saved by choosing a coordinate system that best fits a given problem. So there are problems that are easier to solve from when we are using a spherical one or coordinate a spherical one, or I will keep on doing the work of muting people. I'll do it anyway, now that some of you are joining, and you keep yourself on mute. So a considerable amount of work and time may be saved by using one of them. In this text, we shall restrict ourselves to the three known, which is the Cartesian, cylindrical, and spherical. Although we have considered Cartesian system in the chapter 1, we shall consider it in
Kwani wewe Moses umelipa fia bure? Kwani lazima nianze nini? Kwani wewe umelipa fia bure? Na hiyo lazima nianze nini?
Sorry, I heard there's someone who had entered my room without permission. I was just checking them out. So we can carry on. Sometimes you get interruptions from people who don't follow instructions, and apparently the system is not muting everybody who joins. But nevertheless, we will keep doing that until we have a quiet class. We have said that we have already dealt with Cartesian system in chapter 1. Therefore, we shall consider in the others in this chapter. We should bear in mind that the concepts covered in chapter 1 and demonstrated in Cartesian coordinates are equally applicable to other systems. So we are going to use the same ideas like we have used in chapter 1. And we are going to see how well we are able to develop the ideas like dot and cross product of two vectors in spherical system and spherical systems. So I think that these are the ideas that we are going to be using. And now jumping to just a brief overview of what we said about Cartesian coordinates. We said that it is represented by three coordinates, x, y, and z. A vector in Cartesian may be represented as we can see in equation 2.2. That's something we already said, and we did some sufficient examples. And we also observed that it is customary we use customary we use a right-handed system, because you also mentioned that others are left-handed, but and things change when you're using a left-handed system. So for now, we are going to stick to the normal system that is light-handed, and we define that in our last lecture. So we jump now to cylindrical coordinates, which is defined by the way we said cylindrical is okay. The way we said that Cartesian is defined by x, y, and z. We are saying now that spherical is defined by rho, phi, and z. And therefore, we want now to look at the structure of a cylindrical system. And you're saying that the cylindrical coordinate system is very convenient whenever we are dealing with problems having cylindrical symmetry. And in example is a coaxial transmission line. A coaxial transmission line is the cable that you use to carry or to transmit your TV aerial from outside where you have put the aerial to the TV. That cable, which looks something like that, there is a metallic covering. This is the outside shield, outside cover. Then inside there is aluminum conductor, and at the center there is a copper wire. So that is an example of a okay, that is purely what we refer to as a coaxial transmission line. It is used for very basic transmissions. And you're saying that since that it has the structure of a cylinder, that is why we are saying that if you are using a cylindrical coordinate system, it becomes much easier to understand the concepts behind that, or behind that kind of a system. So we now said that a point P, as you can see in this diagram, in cylindrical coordinates is represented by 3 points, or by 3 coordinates, rho, and I think I have mentioned that before, rho, phi, and z. So the rho is the radius, and as I mentioned in the first class, that that we are going to be using Greek symbols. So this is one of the Greek symbols that becomes quite important to remember, because even the spelling, sometimes you might hear of a misspelling something and then you don't know what I'm talking about. So this is the, I should allow the screen. Just a minute, I think I should allow the recording to capture the mouse. So I don't know if we have that capacity. I'm not sure we do. I think you can still carry on. So I'm saying that this is one of the Greek symbols that we mentioned in the first lecture, and therefore don't get confused. This is how we write rho, RHO. Therefore, you're saying that we are describing this point with 3 coordinates: rho, which depicts the radius from the origin. Of course, the center of the cylinder is considered to be the origin. So we're saying that the radius of this cylinder is described by the symbol rho, which and then we actually derive the cylindrical coordinates from the Cartesian. And you're saying that if from this point, which is the origin, to the point P, okay, point P prime, we can call that P prime, the radius is rho. But then we can also describe it using another dimension, which is phi, and phi is always measured from x coordinate to the y plane. So you can see that this angle that is described by phi is the other angle that is the other dimension that we use to describe point P. So at this point, we have only described P prime in two dimensions: rho, which is the radius, and the angle from the x-axis. Then, because we are going up along the z coordinate, then we are going to consider how high we go. So it is a basic way we can describe how much, where is a point in a drum of water. So you can say that water is at a given point, and given the radius of the tank, and from a given x and y coordinate system. So having said that, I think we should just mention that this I've said, rho is the radius, and phi is also called the azimuthal angle. It is described from x to y. Of course, you always measure it from x to towards y. You never measure it the other way. You can't say from y towards x. So the angle is always directional, and therefore you're saying that that is how you measure the